Ba, 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 ba. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Lancing with myself, the weekly YouTube show where I give you 5 minutes about game design and being a creative when you're low on spoons and low on cash. And today I want to talk about the pathway and the end. Recently, I had a good idea for a mechanic, I thought, and I was tossing it around. I thought, well, that would actually really be interesting as modeling a Civ game. I thought, you know what, I've never designed a Civ game. I'd like to explore that space of, civilization games that aren't just about, well, you've got four things like, technology, warfare, exploration, science, or economics, war, art, whatever the other one is. Economics, war, art, food, maybe. Anyway, there tends to be very, very clear kind of measures in Civ games. I was like, well, let's think outside the box. Let's put Sid Meier away to one side and see if we can make a Civ game that's about something else. And so I played around with the mechanic. I talked to a lot of people about it, but it wasn't really clicking yet. I did some research, tried to bring in someone else who might give me some ideas, and I was like, hang on, it's not going anywhere. I need to let it sit for a bit. Then there was a Button Shy, who's an amazing company that put out all these little wallet games. They've had 50 so far. They've got a Kickstarter on right now for reprints of all their little games. They're all tiny little games, all designed to fit in a wallet and only use 18 cards and sometimes even nothing else. And they were having one of their amazing competitions, as they always do, this time about a real specific place in the world. And I thought, well, I might make a game about my street that I used to live in. And then it kind of evolved into just being about my life when I was very, very poor and very destitute and having a really tough time. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I can sort of make it just about Skid Row or the rough side of town. But then it turned out that it was the way I was trying to get it to work means I needed a counter, which means I had to use a lot of the cards for counters, and it was just getting really fiddly. So I got rid of that and added some counters, and now it doesn't really reflect a real place, and it doesn't really reflect this requirements of the competition. But it did use that idea that I had about the mechanic for the Civ game. So that was no longer a Civ game, and it was no longer a place game, and it was no longer an 18 card game on its own because it has some counters, but it turned into this, and it's called The Price. Now, the point of all that story is that this is a finished game. It still needs some playtest testing and a little bit of ironing out, but it has a start and a beginning and an end, and it works, and it's really exciting, and it tells a story, and it's a completely unique game that reflects something important to me, and it's playable, and it's cool, and it does something. And the point is, it doesn't fulfill some of my original design things. I haven't made a Civ game. I haven't fulfilled that contest, but what happened in the process is I made a game. And what's important is that it doesn't necessarily matter if you don't live up to your original brief or your goal or whatever, as long as you get something out of it. All those things the reason those things exist is to produce an output. It might not perfectly suit that output, but what matters is that you get the output. Now, in the case of Button Shy, sometimes those things go on to be published, but most of the time they don't. Those challenges are really to get you making. So are game jams. So is the game design masterclass. All right, and the challenges that we throw down, whether it's by time restrictions or theme or whatever it is, or just your new idea or your thing about running things together, whatever it is, you might not end up with something that absolutely fulfills that original idea or brief or goal. It might not fit your design document. It might not fit the thing that you were trying to do. It might end up like you were trying to jam it together, but it ended up taking a week instead of 2 days, or 10 hours instead of 3 hours, but it made itself into a game. The idea is that something came out of it, and that's what matters. You made something. Doesn't matter how you got there, and it doesn't matter that you didn't fit those requirements. The point is, all of that exists to get something out. And never lose sight of that. Don't ever say, oh, I didn't jam this year because I was making a game, right? The point is to make the games. That is the purpose. When I started making Identity Crisis, this game was going to be about making a game about character generation in RPGs and sort of randomly generating character ideas. That idea got totally lost. This game is much better for it. When I first started working on There's Been a Murder, the idea of that was it was going to be something for a package that we were going to put together for a Kickstarter with like 10 little small games. Kickstarter never happened, but the game did. When I first started working on Baby Dragon Bedtime, it was a role-playing game. Still have a lot of the notes for that. Then it was something else entirely. Now it's this. As the process went along, the game formed into something else. Didn't turn out to be an RPG. That was a shame. There's an adorable little game about baby dragons out there that I have half a draft for, and maybe it could be a great game, but in the meantime, I got something else. The output is what matters. The pathway is what gets you started, but the pathway is disposable. Whatever it takes to get you to an output, that's what matters. So don't go around feeling bad that your thing didn't fit that. That's how it goes. That's the nature of art. So get started, get to the end, and forget about whether that end perfectly matches where you were going. The point is to get to an end, not to where you might have been headed. That's how you make games. Keep doing it. Love you all. Till next time, play games. Pat dogs, be good, have fun.